Good morning. It's Friday, the 7th of February, and we're here to look at the daily astrology or the astrology of the current times. I've got a lot to show you. One of the first things I want to show you is Donald Trump's chart because he tends to have quite a bit of influence on things. And I want to look at what's influencing him. And I thought that you might like to see it too. So I'm going to share um, his chart. Now, there are issues to do with his chart, the polemics to do with this one. So we have two different times for his actual birth time. So one is about an hour different to the other. It's something like 0951, and that's in Queens, same date, 14th of June 46. And then there is this one, which is 1054, 14th of June 46, again in Queens. This one has a double A rating, and it comes from an online copy of his birth certificate, according to the woman who excels at getting the correct birth information for astrologers. It's called Roding. She has a Roding score. She gives a Roding score, and this one's got double A. So in that case, I'm going to use this one, but I quite understand that you might see a different chart. However, there's only an hour between them, and it's not going to make a lot of difference to what I'm going to show you. So, okay, this is the his chart here, and around it is the transit. So these are the planets in the sky right now. You'll notice I've increased my cursor over here so that you can see more clearly what I'm doing. I had a look at the analytics on this, and everybody's watching it on mobile phones, cell phones. And I thought, I'm not going to see anything, so I've increased the size of it. So we're over here, and the moon is currently at 17 degrees of Gemini, and Jupiter is at 11 degrees of Gemini. Over here, we have Mercury at 17 of Aquarius and the Sun at 19 of Aquarius, Ceres 23 Aquarius. What's important here is the transits are making a trine or 120-degree aspect or separation from each other, right? And this, so they're all in the same element, and that's why it's a trine, because the element's the same, so it's harmonious. And the Sun and Mercury and Ceres are, as I say, trining over here. So they're doing that to his natal positions and to the transiting positions as well. So let's just break this down. So we've got the moon at 17 and we've got Mercury at 17. Here is Trump's Uranus at 17. Now remember, Uranus likes to surprise, right? And it breaks down, it breaks through, it uproars, it uproots, it causes shocks. It is a huge shocking mechanism. So he is going to feel pressure on his Uranus to shock, right? And so he's going to come out with shocking things. Now, the moon is only going to be there for a couple of hours today, so it's not as if this is going to last a long time. But Mercury and the Sun have been doing that. They've been trining the Uranus. And so we're getting these unexpected things coming out. And because it's in Gemini, it's probably normally, I would expect it to come out in news. But of course, when you're talking to someone of this amount of notoriety, this amount of presence in the world political scene, then it's coming out in actual press conferences, which is still called the jurisdiction of Gemini. The zodiac sign of Gemini is very much about the presentation of information and news and communication, passing it on. So that's what we can expect more of today. But I just wanted to sort of point out why it is that we're getting this in general at the moment, because transiting planets have moved into the sign that is ruling this lot. And transiting planets are in a trine to this lot. So it's resonating it, it's jangling it, it's chiming with it, and that's why it's sort of erupting. Okay, the I mean, you can, I'll leave this chart for you to look at. You can just pause and look at it yourself, because I could go on about a few more things, but I've got so much to tell you. So I'll just close that share down for now. Stop share. Okay, and we'll go on to something else. So I'm just going to, and what I'm doing now is I'm getting up the chart of today in a dynamic chart. There we go. And I'm going back to the share now, and we're going to look at that. Here we go. Right. So this is on its own now. Right. So Moon and Jupiter down here now. And they, of course, as I've just said, are in a trine to the Sun and Mercury and Ceres. Great stuff. Okay, there's a few things that have happened this week, and one of them has been the movement of the nodes. These things here that look like horseshoes. One in that shape, so it's got a curve at the top, and then the other one has got the curve at the bottom. This is the south node. This is the north node. The movement of these nodes into a new axis, the Pisces Virgo axis, is significant. And I'm going to show you why now. And I'm going to talk about it. Because when this axis moves, it takes with it all the eclipses. The eclipses only happen because of these nodes. I'm going to show you why that happens in a moment. So when these nodes move into a different axis, they change the whole atmosphere and the whole character of eclipses for that year. Important stuff. Right, okay. So we're going to stop the share on that. And what we're going to do is I'm going to put up a diagram that I've drawn myself. Okay, just forgive me, but in this way, I'm not plagiarizing or anybody else's work. So let's go to this and share that now. Okay. So this is a rough map of the Earth in the middle, and then the moon, so these little circles here, and the moon path on that orbit there, and then the sun, the path of the sun around the Earth on that orbit there. And they meet, they cross over at the lunar nodes, which is this point here. Now, this crossover point does change. It slowly drifts and takes something like 19 years to go all around the zodiac belt. And at the moment, what's happened is the two nodes have moved into the axis, as I was saying, with Pisces and Virgo. Okay, so when the sun and the moon get together on these nodal points, on these nodes, that's when we get eclipses. And the reason for that is, and I'll just do one that I can sort of make obvious here. Let's say the moon is there, and then we've got the sun here, and there we go. That one, yeah. Then you can see that there is a straight line between them. And that is when the light of one thing is going to block out something on the other thing. So let's do it this way. Let's say we're looking at a new moon, right? So we've got the sun and the moon here, and we've got the Earth here, and we're looking at the conjunction of these two planets. Because the moon is much closer to us than the sun is, the moon is going to go over the sun's face from our point of view, and that's going to give us a solar eclipse. Okay. If we then put the moon on this side and the sun on this side, just here, then what's going to happen now is, from our point of view, the the moon is going to be eclipsed because the shadow of us, which is caused by the light of the sun obviously hitting the moon, well, we're getting in the way. So the earth is casting a shadow over the moon, and so now we're getting a lunar eclipse. Now, hopefully that makes sense to you. And it's because of these two orbits, different orbits, which meet at a certain meeting point, which drifts and shifts over years and completes a full circuit of the zodiac belt. Okay, right. Hopefully you can pause and take a screenshot of this if you want to, so that you've got something to look at if you want it in the future. Anyway, right, I'm going to stop the share. Right, so now we have eclipse season coming up. Why? Because the sun is getting near the nodes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just show you how this is going to work. So did I just checking about sharing? There we go. There we go. Share. Right. See the sun over here. This is now going to move into Pisces. When it gets to that node in Pisces, it's going to do the thing where one of either the Earth gets in the way or the moon gets in the way, and that's when we're going to get eclipses. And this is going to happen when the sun gets into Pisces, because the sun is the thing that has to be at the nodal point in order for us to get the eclipse. Okay, hopefully you've got that now. Now, what I want to explain to you, stop sharing again. Are you seasick yet? What I want to explain to you is the movement and how, right, I'll start from the beginning, right? We'll start again. Where the sun path crosses the moon path, it creates an enormous, huge turmoil, a very turbulent energy. I want you to imagine something. Imagine that there's a boat going round and round on a lake, a little model boat, right? And it's just creating a wake, and it's creating a sort of a channel which keeps repeating. And so you've got all the little waves which come off the back and everything are all organized and they're fine. And then let's say you put another boat on that lake, right? So the sun boat and the moon boat. Now, imagine what happens if you cross the paths of those. Can you see how the waves are all going to get choppy and slop against each other? That's what's happening out there in space. And when that does that, the huge energy, which is caused by the crossing over of all kinds of things. You've got gravitational waves, you've got electromagnetic stuff, we've got magnetic field lines. So there is such an enormous churning and swapping of stuff that it rips our space-time. And what happens then is we have a window open, a portal open to a different realm, to another dimension, if you like. And that makes these nodal points very karmic. It makes them almost outside of our own physics, if you like. So I'm going to outside of our own astrology. They don't behave like everything else behaves in astrology. They're weird things. Right. So those eclipses and the fact that these nodes, the crossing of the sun path with the moon path, is now traveling through the zodiac signs of Pisces and Virgo, means that we have a different emphasis, okay? And the energy which is coming through the portals has a different quality. So it changes the Zeitgeist, it changes the flavor of our atmosphere. It puts a different emphasis on different energies. And so when the eclipse season starts, as it does fairly soon, the sun's only got to move into Pisces, then what used to be the effect of eclipses, and the nodes always move backwards, by the way, they don't move forwards. So they go into the previous zodiac sign. So we used to have Aries and Libra highlighted. It was all about me, and my relationship, my interpersonal relationship. Now it's moved into the difference between Virgo and Pisces, or the Virgo Pisces axis, and the theme of the Virgo Pisces axis, which is service to others to start with, health, medical stuff. It's all about, it can be all about the irritating things to do with doctor's appointments and hospital appointments and dental appointments and remembering vitamins and that kind of thing. But it can also be about mysterious diseases. Cancer hasn't been understood fully, things like that. And it also, as far as the collective is concerned, it's the things that erupt when it comes to this access, or things like the spiritual versus the critical. The dissolution of Pisces, that last zodiac sign where everything is exhausted and it just wants to go to sleep in the shallow waters and flick its tail every now and again. Well, that's great for Pisces, but opposite, you've got Virgo going, oi, get on with something. You're not working. What do you think you're doing? Stop sleeping. So we've got those kind of issues going on. But we've also got the Piscean waters, the cosmic waters are agitated. Psychic stuff comes up that stirs the ancient memories, that brings up the feminine ancient memories, the origins of us, the origins of our dimension, the origins of this material cosmos. All that kind of stuff comes up because that's all buried in Pisces. And then in Virgo, we will start up arguments, if you like, or rhetoric, or polemics, arguments between things. And so that will come up too. We'll get critical headlines and stuff like that. Okay, so this service to others can either be the Virgo service to others, where you're simply making the tea and writing up the notes from a meeting, but it can also be service to something greater than we are, and Pisces, right? So service to the Piscean cosmic waters. Okay, this again is taking us into the space theme. And we've got a space theme anyway, and have had since the discovery of the dwarf planets. So I'm kind of interested in how this will pan out in terms of what we're going to discover and what we're going to discover, but also the discovery will be about our ancient roots, where our evolution is coming from. Right, now, I just want to do something else for a second. 1 minute. I've got something. So we're done. Right, just going through these things. I had something organized for you, so I'm just going to get it up because I'm annoyed if I've lost it. Right, that's all right. I've got my notes on it now. I wanted to bring this up because I think it's to do with Musk and Starlink, his Starlink satellite organization. And it's actually a story that is on spaceweather.com and was on spaceweather.com yesterday, so you can go there and have a look. I've taken all my quotes from Space Weather, and thank you very much to Space Weather for that. Right, it's about the Starlink satellites. The first generation of these satellites are now being retired, and the way they retire them is they cause them to die. So they just commit them to a re-entry, which causes their death. And so Space Weather tells us that more than 500 of the 4,700, remember that, Generation 1 Starlinks have now re-entered Earth's atmosphere. Since 2018, SpaceX has placed more than 7,000 Starlink satellites into Earth orbit, and now they're all starting to come down. And this is a quote directly from spaceweather.com. In January alone, more than 120 Starlinks deorbited, creating showers of fireballs over certain countries. So there is a Jonathan McDowell, an astronomer at the Harvard Center for Astrophysics who tracks satellites. And he says the sustained rate of re-entries is unprecedented. They are retiring and incinerating 4 or 5 Starlinks a day. Okay. When Starlinks re-enter, they disintegrate, adding metallic vapors to the atmosphere. A study published in 2023 found that 10% of aerosol particles contained aluminium and other metals from satellite burnouts. These eat away at the ozone layer, right? A new study finds that these oxides have increased 8-fold from between 2016 to 2022. Okay. And the recent surge is increasing that pollution even more than the 8-fold. Just one generation 1 Starlink satellite produces 30 kilograms or 66 pounds of aluminium oxide. They have another 4,200 Generation 1 satellites to burn this year. Okay. Now, I wanted to bring that up because in the confusion and sometimes quite hilarious rhetoric and narratives that are going on at the moment in America, the nodes have moved into the confusion of Pisces and Virgo's desperate need to organize it and get it all straight again. So Pisces is always thinking everything's coming unraveled. I've got to be critical and straighten it up. And Pisces is going, none of this matters. It doesn't matter, as in it doesn't matter, or it doesn't matter, as in Earth. It doesn't matter. And I'm aware of this, and I'm looking at this Starlink stuff and thinking, what? They're about to destroy the ozone layer. I mean, talk about Piscean avoidance, that convenient Piscean fog or mist, which can just descend over something. It doesn't matter. I'll just go off to the shallow waters and flick my tail. So he's getting involved with American politics and what's happening with the Starlink program. Okay, anyway, I just thought I'd bring that story to your attention. First of all, because it's got a space link, and with Uranus moving into Gemini this year, and with various other things happening in terms of Jupiter being in Gemini, etc., there is a distinct space theme going on, and there will be, because the dwarf planets also tell us that this is the century for this sort of stuff to come up. So, um, well, I mean, put what you think in the comment box. I'm just an astrologer. Please remember that. I'm just looking at the astrology and matching it up with news stories. I didn't make that up. I just got it off spaceweather.com. But I'm sorry if I've giggled while I've told you about it, because sometimes, and I'm a Gemini, Geminis have to giggle instead of emotionally break down. We just sit and giggle. What? Anyway, but we can do nothing about anything, that is. It's such an innocent sign, Gemini, really, very innocent. Anyway, I better stop now, hadn't I? It's been fantastic to talk to you, and I'll see you next time. I'll see you soon. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks. Bye.